we would not be able to exist without the seed industry. And when National Garden Bureau was formed in 1920, which was 92 years ago, our basis for our members were all seed breeders, the brokers, the mail order seed companies, etc. And then with All America Selections, we have all of our entries come from those seed breeding companies. So any of the breeders are the ones who put their entries into our trials. So we're very, very much tied to the seed industry, and that's how we got our start, and we'll continue. I'm glad you asked about that because we made some changes about 2 years ago. We had some phased-in introductions, and we changed it to immediate introduction, to where when we announce it, it's available immediately for sale. And it was a change we were forced to make just because of today's technology and the speed of communication. And so it no longer worked to just release it to part of the industry, or maybe just garden centers or just growers, because everybody found out about it anyway. So right now we have something called immediate introduction. So when we announce it, like as of yesterday we announced that Vinca, so as of today hopefully people are placing orders. It's available immediately for sale, and we'll do the press release and the garden writers will start to write about it. So that was a distinct change. And the other thing now is we do have 3 introductions per year. So we introduce some in early November, and that would be I'm sorry, that's not going to be the first. Go backwards. We announced them in July, so this coming July of 2012 will be the very first of the 2013 winners. Then we have November, which would also be 2013 winners, and then January of 2013 will be the last of the 2013 winners. So we have 3 introduction dates. And what we're trying to do is accommodate all the different breeders, their marketing schedules, their business strategies, their production schedules. So each one works for different crops and different companies in various ways. So 3 is much better than 1. I was thinking about this question, and there's definitely trends among winners, and there's definitely trends among entries, and so we don't want to diminish that. So some of the things that I really see the breeders working on, listening to the consumers and what the consumers are looking for. So in today's day and age, they're looking for ease of care or easy to grow. So for example, not that we've had one recently, but in a dream world, maybe there would be a petunia that deadheads itself. Or just taking that quality from some other flowers that deadhead themselves and incorporate them into others. So that might be an example. But in reality, some of the things we're seeing is unique colors. Trying to go with fashion. The color this year is Tango Tangerine. So it's kind of hard to keep up with all those color trends. But anything unique, you have your traditional Gaillardia that was yellow. Well, we have a winner now that's apricot. So just putting in those new colors there. Anything related to disease resistance is huge. Again, makes it easier for both the commercial bedding side, the growers there, if it has disease resistance, but for the consumers also. It's not going to just die off at a certain point in the season if it has disease resistance. And then it's not a trend, it's just a fact of life, is that the vegetable breeders are trying to put more compactness into their plants so they can grow them in a container on the patio. Maybe the vines won't grow quite as long like our new fairy watermelon. It's shorter vines and smaller fruit. So for today's smaller families or smaller gardens, it's a perfect family size watermelon, but that's definitely a trend. We had the Cajun bell pepper, so it's a smaller pepper, it's a smaller plant. We definitely have seen that for quite a few years, and I think that will continue. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could give a weight to each one on those, and I can't, because if something is a tremendous performer alone and no creativity with the breeding, well, I guess it would take creativity to come up with great performance. But it's not like the judges judge only on creativity. Some things are entered for different reasons. Like I mentioned, the Gaillardia was a different color. Well, that's pretty creative, but yet garden performance is extremely important, and that's the basis of the All-America trials is garden performance. And the fact that it has to perform well throughout North America. Our tagline is tested nationally and proven locally. So it's been tested all over, and it's been proven in your backyard. So yeah, I wouldn't say that one weighs more highly. It really depends on the class and just what the claims of uniqueness are for that entry. It's evolving rapidly, in reaction to the economy. There are a lot of things happening. I think creativity is key in this. Anytime there's a down economy, you got to figure out ways to sell more product. So I see a lot of that happening, and that's one of the things that I would say is our focus with National Garden Bureau, is to get more non-gardeners to become gardeners. So in other words, we're increasing our number of consumers, and hopefully that just helps everybody in every part of the chain. So we're getting more creative. We're seeing partnerships just to combine resources. That's very important. And just adapting to what the consumers want. I've been talking to a lot of the people with organics, and we got to continue to serve that niche. Even though it's a niche right now, it may not be at some point. So kind of goes along with what our breeders are doing for All America Selections entries, is that the industry is listening to their customers, be it the end consumer or anybody along the chain. There's a role for everybody, luckily, and we've seen a lot of consolidation in the industry over the years. There's a lot of companies that have merged and bought each other out, etc. And it just is kind of indicative of a lot of industries and a lot of companies, to where as larger companies get larger, there's opportunities for the smaller companies. And I was going to tie this back a little bit to the talk about the creativity. You have a breeder in his backyard breeding jalapeno peppers. Well, he can be pretty creative with that one jalapeno. So that's wonderful. But then you also have the multinational companies, and maybe instead of just one single breeder working on one single type of pepper, there may be, I don't know, maybe there's 5 different breeders and they work together. So there's a lot more opportunities for creativity there also. So creativity is not just with the smaller backyard breeder, it's all across. And of course, resources. A multinational company is definitely going to have more resources. So they all play an incredibly important role. And I would like to think that All America Selections would be an important part to both of them, especially the small independent breeder, because he wouldn't have the opportunity or resources to do the marketing behind a new breed that he comes up with, or she. Whereas the multinationals, maybe they're putting their resources into the commercial side, whereas All America Selections focus on the home garden side. Less and less time, or their time is distracted by other things. We were in a meeting just the other day, and what is our competition? Our competition's the iPad and the iPhone and the Wii's and things like that. So how is the consumer evolving? Much more educated. Now, is that education always good, true, factual information? Maybe not. That is one of the dangers of having so much information available online. So they think they're more educated. The key then is, will they be successful if they try gardening? If they get some wrong information online and they're not successful, will they then abandon the idea of gardening? We certainly hope not. So I think we have to increase what we're doing from an information providing standpoint and make sure that it's good information. I would like to think that maybe we can work together and come up with a central point of information. So that's key. And stressing to the consumer that gardening is not work. That's such a bad connotation. Oh, it must be work and I'm hurting my back by working in my garden. But go with something that's been talked about for at least 10 years, I know, is more the theme of decorating. I'm going to use this for decorating. And then, of course, we can talk about edibles, and that's just another huge opportunity with the consumers. Well, there's the economic factor of growing your own fruits and vegetables. There's the locavore trend of maybe you want to grow your own so that you don't have to make as big a footprint on the environment and that. So the consumer is rapidly changing, and it's kind of hard to keep up, but I actually think the industry is doing a really job of keeping up now. The All-America Selections trialing process, it typically is just a one-year process. We get entries in the fall, and once we get the entries in, then we have an experienced group of horticulture professionals who determine what the comparisons are. They pick either 2 or 3 comparisons depending on the traits. And so then the comparison seed and the entry seed is in our office, and then we put all these packets together for our judges. Right now we currently have about 64 judges throughout North America, and we have 4 different categories. We have vegetable, flower, bedding plant, and cool season bedding plant. So entries come into each one of those categories. So all except for the cool season, the seed is sent out about now. We're sending out the seed, and then it is dependent upon the judge's climate and geographic area. They plant when it is best for that crop in their area. So then they grow them out for the season. Come fall, September, October, they send their score sheets to our office. We analyze them. We have an accountant analyze them. We let the breeders know if they have a high enough score for their entry. And if they have a high enough score, then they have the opportunity to choose their introduction date, which I had talked about with, there's a November, January, and July introduction dates. And so in between the time that it has gotten a high enough score to be a winner, it's called a holdover. So it goes into holdover status until all the criteria is met, which typically means until there's enough seed in the bag for sale for the first year's sales. And of course we need all the technical things like a variety name and the photography, the images that we'll use to market it and everything like that. So, in a nutshell, that's the AAS trialing process.